Hello and welcome to this digital photo video tutorial. I'm Phil Hall and I'll be showing you how to create a realistic sun ray effect that you can apply to your own images. By building up a series of layers constructed from selections and brushes, we can produce this stunning effect here that you see on the right. You'll also be able to find out how to turn your leaves from green to red to give them that real autumnal feel. We've got quite a bit to do here, so let's crack on. Okay, I'm just going to close down this final image here. This is what we're going to achieve at the end of our video tutorial. So I'm just going to close that down and maximize our start image. It's trees.jpg on this month's CD, and I think we're ready to get started. First thing I'm going to do is turn these leaves from green to a sort of a reddy colour, and I'm going to easily do that by just going to the rectangular marquee tool. If you can't see it on your toolbox, it's sometimes hidden under these other tools. Just hold down your left mouse key and you'll get this option. I'm going to select that one there. And then all I'm going to do, working from the top left, is just click and hold and drag out our rectangular marquee tool. I'm going to go down about 2/3 of the way down and release, so it's just above the horizon there. And this is our selected area. None of this down here is going to be affected. And all we're going to do is just turn these leaves a bit redder. Okay, I want to feather that selection first, so I'm going to go to Refine Edge, click on it and key in a feather of around about 100 pixels. If I do it less than that, you can see we've got that harsh graduation. I want, for about this kind of thing, 100 pixels. I'm going to hit OK. If you're using an earlier version of Photoshop, say CS or CS2, you can feather your image quite easily just by going to Select and it will be down with a feather option there. You can key in 100 pixels as we've done here and you'll get the same result. Okay, so I'm going to now bring up the layers palette. I'm going to hit F7 on my keyboard, and we've just got our single layer at the moment, but that's going to change quite a bit in a moment. Okay, I'm going to go down to the Create New Filler Adjustment layer icon at the bottom of the layers palette. It's that one there. Click on it, and from the drop down menu I'm going to select Hue Saturation. Okay, we've got our pop-up box here. I'm not going to play around with the saturation slider, but with a hue slider. If I just scroll through that, you can see the colour of the leaves changes quite a bit. So it's just finding that happy medium where we get that sort of red or reddish effect. So I'm going to go for round about, there we go, minus 28 or 27. Yeah, 28, that'll do. Hit OK, and we've turned our leaves green to red in an instant. Okay, we're now ready to start thinking about adding our sun rays. I want the sort of the focal point or the sun spot to be up in the top right hand corner here, and then we're going to bring the rays out and down and get that really nice sort of stunning effect. Okay, the first thing I need to do is create a new layer to do that with. So I'm going to go to Layer, New Layer, and I'm going to name this layer Rays 1. We're going to be working with quite a few layers, so it's good to name them so you know where you are. Okay, I'm going to hit OK, and we've got our Rays 1 layer there. Right, to create the sun rays, I'm going to start off by using the polygonal lasso tool. It's over in the toolbox there. As before, if you can't see it, it's normally under the lasso tool. It's that one there. Click on it, and what I'm going to do is, starting roughly in the top right hand corners, click and then just drag out round and make this fairly sharp triangular shape there. We want to do about another 4 of these, I think, for this Rays 1 layer. So what we're going to have to do is hold down Shift, starting from the same point again, click down. We see that we can still have this original selection, but we can start a new one as well. Click on it all the way around, and then we've got another ray selection. You see the marching ants coming around. This is going to form the basis for our sun rays. I'm going to do another one here, just holding down Shift again, clicking, and then making another rough ray selection, holding down Shift again. So on to number 4, and I'm going to do my final one, number 5. So Shift, I'm going to have that coming down there, and we've got our 5 sort of streams of sun rays there. So it's looking pretty basic at the moment, but what I'm going to do is going to go over to the toolbox, make sure I've got white as my foreground colour. Just going to flip that round and then go and select the paint bucket tool. Again, if you can't see it, it's normally under the gradient tool, but that's the one we want. And what I'm going to do is just click in one of these selections, and you see we start with our sort of sun rays. They're starting to take shape. What I'm going to do now is just get rid of those Martian ants by hitting Control D, so I don't want them anymore. And this is what we're going to work on. It doesn't look a lot at the moment, but I'm going to show you a couple of things and we can really start to build it up. Okay, I now want to feather these sun rays because they look pretty horrible. So I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and I'm going to key in a radius of around about 35 pixels. As you can see, that's starting to get there. I'm going to hit OK. Then I'm going to go over to my layers palette and then knock the opacity back to around about 60%. They're starting to look that bit more sort of natural and sort of organic. Okay, so that's what we've done just simply by using the polygon or lasso tool, the paint bucket tool and the Gaussian blur and opacity. So we're starting to get there. Okay, at the moment though, it's looking very flat and just laid on. I want to make them look like they're sort of running through the tree trunks, and what I'm going to have to do with that is just gently brush out some of them where they're going over the tree trunks there to look like they're interweaving between the trees. Okay, I'm going to need a layer mask to do that, so I'm going to go back to my layers palette, down to the bottom there, and click on Add Layer Mask. So you should see that icon there, and that's our layer mask. I'm going to go over to the toolbox, make sure I've got black set as my foreground colour. I'm going to select a brush tool. I want a brush size of around about 60 pixels. So what I'm going to do is just hit the left square brackets key. See that's gone down to 60. The opacity, I'm not going to have it on the full 100%. I'm going to go for around about 70%. I'm not going to go for 100 because when I brush back in, it's going to look quite a harsh change between the sort of light rays or the sun rays and what we've brushed away. Okay, I'm going to zoom in to the top, probably a bit too close, top right, and all I'm going to do, I'm not going to do it for every one, I'm just going to brush back a couple just to give the impression that they're coming through different areas of the tree. Okay, so like this one here, I'm just going to do it for here as well. You've got to think logically. You don't want to sort of brush back, sort of say this one here when it's already gone through there. You want to sort of try and keep some realism to it. I'm going to make my bigger changes over here. If I just go down to here, you see that one's coming through there. So realistically, it can't be going across this tree trunk. So I'm just going to brush that away. Just like that. Just down a bit more. There we go. I might do it for this tree as well. There you go. It's really starting to add a bit of depth to our sun rays. Don't worry about being too precise with it. Just moving up. I'm gonna leave that, or I'm gonna leave that one as it is. That one I'm just gonna brush back. So just got to be a little bit random with it because you don't want them too uniformed. And then this one here, I'm just going to brush away there. See what I'm doing? If I just zoom out, that's starting to look a lot better. Okay, we've still got quite a sharp ending to our sort of sun rays. So all I'm going to do is just increase the brush size to around about 800 pixels. I'm just going to brush off the ends there. So just lightly do this around the ends there. And do it sort of there. That's working quite nicely. So it's giving them a lot more natural look. Okay, so that's rays 1. At the moment, we've only got one set of rays. And I'm going to create another couple of layers, repeating steps 3 to 6. But what I'm going to do is going to vary the size of the sun rays. The selections I make, they're going to be either narrower, shorter or wider. I'm going to alter the opacity of the layers as well and mask different areas of the tree trunk, so I really build up this sort of depth and dimension to our sun rays. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to do another couple of layers and join you in a moment. Hello there, welcome back. As you can see, I've completed another couple of rays. I've got rays 2 and rays 3. If I just hide them, that's what I started off, or what I left you with. Build up another one, and then a final one. So we've got 3 rays layers there. You can do more if you want, but I think 3 is about right. But what I'm concerned with at the moment, we've just got these rays coming out of nowhere. I want to add some lens flare, or sort of a real sort of hot spot for where the rays are coming from. Okay, so I'm going to need a new layer to do that. So I'm going to go to layer, new, layer, and I'll call it lens flare. Hit OK. What I'm going to do now is go over to my toolbox, make sure I've got black as my foreground colour, paint bucket tool. Now I'm just going to fill this entire layer in black. Don't worry, we're going to get that back in a moment. What I'm going to do now is create my sort of lens flare. So I'm going to go to filter, down to render, almost went to blur there, and go to lens flare. You get this dialog box pop up. What I'm going to do is play around with the brightness. So you can see if I move that back, you get a minimal amount. If I increase it, you get a real wide coverage. So around about 165 is going to do the trick, I think. Around about there. It's a nice balance. We've got different lenses to choose from. If I just click through them, they give you different effects. But 35mm prime is what I'm going to go for. You can move the position around as well if you want. So if I just click around, but I'm going to go top right corner and hit OK. Right, I'm going to change the blending mode of this layer now so I can see what we're doing. I'm going to change it from normal and I'm going to go to screen. If I click on that, you see we got our trees and sun rays back. If it's not quite in position, you can use the move tool and just move this layer around. So round about there will do the trick. So you can see it's got a slight flare down here. I don't know if you can see it on here. I just want to make sure I've got rid of that. So I'm going to add a layer mask, get my brush tool, and then just with a 100% opacity, just going to crank that up. Just going to get rid of it down here. So you probably can't see it on here, but it can sort of show up on your final image. Okay, so I've just got rid of that. I'm only sort of concerned with our lens flare up the top here. You can see it's got a slightly sort of pinkish cast almost, and I just want to remove that before I move on to the next stage. So I'm going to go down to my create new filler adjustment layer, click on it, use saturation again. I want to knock all the saturation out. So it gets rid of that cast, but it also makes the entire image mono. I'm going to show you how to just get that back in a moment. So I'm going to hit OK, and if I click on Control Alt G, create a clipping mask, so it's only applied to that single layer there. So we've removed that colour cast, but we've maintained the rest of the colour in the image. Okay, so we're almost there. We've got our sun rays in there. They're looking good, sort of flicking through the tree trunks, but we've got no shadows. If you've got really harsh light, you'd have shadows coming out from these trees. So I'm now going to move on and think about creating my shadows. Okay, I'm going to go to layer, new layer, and I'm going to call this one Shadows 1. Okay, so I'm going to use a similar process to what I did with my sun rays. I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool, click on it. And what I'm going to do is just click and then just drag out some rough shadow shapes or outlines. I'm only going to do it for the closest trees in the foreground. I'm going to hold down Shift and then run out and back, round about there, click on it. Okay, all I'm going to do now, rather than filling them in with white, is fill them in with black, hit Control D, then I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur again, 35 as a radius is a bit too much for that, so I'm going to come back to around about 20. Hit OK, and what I'm going to do is just change the blending mode from normal to soft light. See there, that makes a nice sort of shadow effect. I might just knock the opacity down round to about 90%, and yeah, we're almost there. I'm now going to move on to the next couple of lines of trees because I need to do a slightly different technique with that. Okay, so I'm going to go to Layer, New Layer. I'm going to call it Shadows 2, hit OK, and as before, select the Polygon or Lasso tool, and then very roughly just make these selections. Holding down Shift again. I'm doing this on a separate layer because when it comes to blurring it, I need a different Gaussian blur radius. As you can see, these are a lot thinner. So around about there, probably that'll be my last one. I'm going to fill again with black, so paint bucket tool, make sure I've got black as my foreground colour, fill, Control D, and then we're going to go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. As I mentioned, yeah, you can see 20 or radius around 20 is a bit too much for these and it'll look quite strange. So I'm going to bring the radius back down to around about 6 will do, and then hit OK. And as before, just change that blending mode to soft light, and yeah, just take the opacity down. Trouble is though, we've got these shadows running through the tree trunks and it's not really a good look. So I'm going to add a layer mask. I'm going to zoom in, and then with my brush tool, just going to reduce that in size to around about 70 pixels. So that was the left square brackets key, and I'll take the opacity down to around about 75, and then just brush back the tree trunk detail. So we've got a nice, clearly defined shadow and tree trunk without those weird zebra patches on them. Okay, almost done. So if I Control 0 to zoom out, and that's really how to create a beautiful sunray effect that you can apply to your own shots. The trick is to build up the layers to achieve the effect, varying the size and the strength all the time. I hope you've enjoyed this technique, and I'll see you next month. Cheers!